to Beyond the Gate, our Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Meg.
And today we're talking about episode 53, Flame of Vengeance.
Yes. In this episode, after a startling radio broadcast grants Mustang's forces the advantage over Central troops, the Flame Alchemist unleashes the brutal power of burning hatred in the battle against the killer of Hughes.
Yes, and this covers manga chapter 93, Arch Enemy, and 94, Flames of Vengeance.
Very good episode.
Yeah, this is, I don't know, one of the things I love about Full Metal so much is that there are through lines that continue throughout the entire plot. Like, no one forgot about Hughes for a second.
Mm-hmm.
No one forgot about Nina either, but that one's tough to bring up.
Yeah. And this episode, I don't know, it's a lot different from the last one. We were like jumping between like a bunch of different fights. This one really is just like two main scenes, I guess.
Yeah. And they have Roy in common. Like he was the instigator of this rebellion happening topside, and then bottom side he's going to the big fight with the zombies and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. So for the first part of the story, we see people like turning their radios to the public radio station, and we hear Mrs. Bradley telling her story, like how the Central soldiers were like kill her and they don't care about her. We also see that Brosh is listening in, and people are kind of like, this is really the first time they're hearing like, oh, what's happening. I mean, obviously they kind of know because the city seems to be under attack, but don't completely understand what's happening. And then we hear Breda comes in and tells the people over the radio that and Mrs. Bradley hears this for the first time, that the Fuhrer's train has been blown up, and they don't know where he is. Which one thing that he also said in the manga, which I like didn't really think about, was that it was only a few hours ago. Like it feels like that was so many episodes. I was like, oh yeah, that happened a few days ago,
Well,
but no, it
yeah,
just
I was
happened.
wondering why the people weren't informed, because they were like, everybody was like, where's the Fuhrer right now? And I was thinking, don't they know that his train exploded? But yeah, they wouldn't have been told yet. Nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
They probably wouldn't want to cause a panic to the public just yet either.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course the Central troops are like furious. They want the radio shut down. But then the people running the radio pretend to be taken hostage. They're like,
This is like my favorite part.
We can't stop the broadcast. And they're all like laughing. And
I love how the one guy on the phone, he's just like, oh no, don't shoot. And he just like hangs up, and Fury's just like, oh yeah, good job. That was perfect.
Yeah, I love it. They're working with Mustang's crew. Which makes sense. They're also like reporters, so
yeah,
like,
I think
we gotta
manga,
get the best story out there.
Yep. In the manga, they said something like, we want to get the best story. Like, no way I'm letting the story of the century pass by. But I think also there was this sentiment of like, you can't stop the press. We will tell the truth. It's our duty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then one of Mustang's soldiers comes on and, tries to inspire the people to be on Mustang's side, and it's Maria, and Brosh hears her voice and he's like so happy. He's like,
starts crying.
She's alive.
That was so awesome. Cute.
And then Grumman is also listening in, and he's very impressed as well. Like, oh, Mustang is playing all his cards, and being very shrewd and smart about his plan. 'Cause now like all of Central is concerned about the Fuhrer and this military coup that might be happening. And then we also see the It-Fallens spreading the news about that. They're like, oh yeah, it's true. Like the Fuhrer's train has been blown up and there's a coup going on, and everybody's just like, oh, the Central troops are bad. I don't know, something I really liked about this is that, like, everyone just believes the Ishvalans. Like, they're like, oh yeah, they're totally telling the truth. Like, they like don't even question them, which
Yeah,
is
they don't harbor any resentment toward the refugees, it seems. And I mean, why would they? Because the military is the one who just devastated the Ishvalan's country, and the normal everyday citizens, I don't think they really know all that went down over there or have much of an inkling of why. And
yeah,
yeah.
I would have liked to see what their thoughts were like during the Ishvalan extermination, just because I don't know, they always like, just like the everyday, the average citizen seems to be very much unaware of what's going on, and I don't know that that's necessarily the case. Like, I feel like there's always people questioning things. And of course there are, like, we see them, but they're like in the military. And I don't know, it just reminds me, like, I feel like it would have been, like, it could have been a situation similar to like the Vietnam War, where like the citizens were like, no, or some
And the
people were like, no,
soldiers
this
came back
is
and the citizens
not okay.
weren't.
And
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just surprised that, I don't know, there's so much, like, it mirrors real life. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm surprised that it didn't
They didn't
cover.
elaborate on
Yeah, it
this.
didn't elaborate on any of that. Anyway, um, the last part of this scene, we see the Central troops are like, the Brig soldiers are never going to be able to get into our into the main gate because they would need a tank to do that, and and they have a tank. And so the Central forces are in trouble. And then the second part of this episode, we go back to where the last episode left off, with Roy has arrived to help Ed and company, and Roy is just immediately like being himself. He's like, I remember the last time we were here, Lieutenant, you were crying over me. And Riza, like, I won't be crying because water makes you useless. And Scar is not amused by their banter. He's just like, help us, stop bantering.
Shut up and fight.
Yeah. And also something exciting, well, I don't know how exciting, but we talked in the last episode, like, oh, we never saw Ed, like, his spear, we never saw it get destroyed. And in this episode, we see that he still has it. His spear is still there, and I still don't think we actually see it get destroyed. So
No.
I think
if anything, he just probably tosses it to the side.
This might go down as the longest surviving spear.
It's just waiting in the room for him to come back.
And then Roy does something super awesome. He like kills all the immortal soldiers with fire, and it's super awesome because like you get like, I guess, an above shot, and you see like his fire like expertly going around like all of his teammates and like just getting the soldiers, and it's, I don't know, it's super awesome. But Ed is sad because he knows what they used to be, I guess, and Roy's like, it had to be done, bro.
Yeah. In the anime, they really hone in on the fact that Ed didn't want to kill anybody or anything, but in the manga, he's just shocked that Roy could take out all the enemies at once. Like, there's no sadness, there's just like, holy smokes, you're able to kill all of them at once? And Roy says, if you're having trouble with these things, you've still got a long way to go. So it really shows how powerful Roy is.
Gonna say,
Ed's
like,
already OP, so.
In this episode, and in the manga, like, you see, like, oh, Roy is way OP. He's just insane. He could take on a whole army by himself.
And he has.
Yeah, he literally just did. and then we see Envy is chasing May still, and May enters a room where Roy has just killed all the soldiers, with Envy following close behind, and it's super cute because she like runs right to Scar, but he is not happy to see her. He's like, "You dumb girl, why didn't you go home?"
And she starts crying.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because you just see like Envy in the back, like he's like, "So just shut up," like this is so annoying.
It's also really sweet. I couldn't pick up on what they're saying, but I heard May and Scar talking in the background. Like, I didn't hear their conversation, but I assume he was saying something like, "Oh no, it's okay, never mind, just help us," or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Scar is more of a father figure to her than her actual father is.
Yeah, her father has like
Her
50
father
kids.
is not
So
he's more of a deadbeat than Hohenheim.
True. And then Envy, I don't know, Envy came in and he was full force in this moment, because he like immediately tries to like turn Scar and Mustang against each other, and they're like just not having it. And then I don't remember exactly what he says, but then Roy is like, "Fools dig their own graves," and Envy just like whistles like.
That kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But then Roy asks what he has been waiting to ask. Who killed Maze Hughes? And at first Envy kind of like beats around the bush and is like, I don't know. He doesn't really answer. And then, yeah. And then Roy is just so annoyed with Envy. He's like, "Shut up and tell me the truth." And then Envy finally admits that he was the one that killed Hughes while he was laughing.
Yeah. Side note, please check out the manga. The whole sequence is amazing. But like, when Roy was grilling him for information, Envy was dodging, was saying, "Well, Maria Ross did." And Roy was like, "No, she didn't." And Envy replies with, "Oh, so you torched an innocent girl, you monster." And he's just like, evading the question while also goading Roy. But Roy is in this state of like, I'm not gonna let this go. Who killed Hughes? And I mean, like, Envy's not gonna get away without answering. So finally he's just like, "Well, congratulations, you found your killer."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then he transforms into Hughes' wife, which Roy's absolutely furious. And he burns Envy's tongue.
Yeah. It's hard to watch, but also kind of savage. Like in the manga, Roy burns out his tongue and then says, "Judging by how much you run your mouth off, I'm guessing you have a rather fat tongue. That must be why it burns so well."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of them have just very witty, good back and forth.
Sassy.
Uh-huh. Yes. And then Ed and Scar and the Chimeras, they leave to find Father. But you can see that Ed and Scar are kind of concerned about Roy, because he is out for revenge. And then Envy transforms into his like monster form, and Roy burns his eyes, and he like just starts doing what he does. And Envy's like, "Oh shoot, this is a guy that killed Lust," and so he like turns back into his normal form and escapes into the tunnels. And Roy chases after him. And while Roy is chasing Envy, May's leading the way to Father. And she can you can say it, but she can sense the rancid chi, which
So when she said that, I heard it as rancid cheese. Sorry.
Oh man, this like reminds me, have you ever had like, I'm sure you have, like a moment where something just like, you're in a group of people and something just like hits you as really funny and like everybody else laughs, but like you just like
You lose
can't.
it.
stop. Like
Yes.
everybody's done laughing and you're just like,
It happens when I'm tired,
ugh,
and then it devolves from me laughing into going like, "Help me. I don't know why I'm still laughing."
right? It's like,
But anyway,
wait, that
I just
no wait, okay. The other day, I need to send you something. I was totally dying. Oh no, hopefully I didn't delete the picture. Let me check. Um,
but anyway, while you're looking that up, she calls it chi, which I think is the correct pronunciation, but in the show Black Clover, they also deal with that kind of, energy source, life energy source, but they call it ki. I'm pretty sure it's spelled the same way though. But
hmm,
so when she says chi, it takes my brain half a second to process that's the same thing as ki.
that's interesting.
Yeah, but I've heard Qi before in reference to like Chinese martial arts, so that's what I assume it is actually
Ooh,
pronounced.
what
But
do
if
I
we have
find
a
out?
listener who knows better, please tell us.
I'm gonna send you something. I don't. This is like I could not. I was just dying. I don't know why. I couldn't stop. I just found it like I bought that for somebody and gave it to them. Like
Why did that make you laugh so hard? Okay, you're gonna have to. I'll keep this in the episode, but you're gonna have to post a picture on our Instagram. It's just like a birthday card with a banana, and you
no,
open it up.
it's a thank you card.
A
Yeah.
thank you card with a banana, and then it says on the inside, "You're the best of the bunch." Why are you losing it? It's cute.
Because okay, I was buying it was like a serious situation, okay? Like somebody had done something for my family, like super big, like a very big thing. And we had to thank two people. So one person, I got a super nice card for them, like a thank you card. And then this other person, I just got that.
Okay, that's funny.
It makes sense, but I just like couldn't, because I just like was imagining them like opening up their cards
Oh,
together. And it's like,
one of them's
why is
so
yours
heartfelt, and the
super
other's
nice?
a banana.
I was in Target just like losing my mind. My sister was there and she was like,
Awesome.
it's not that funny.
But anyway, let's
Yeah,
get back
okay.
to the
Yes,
serious
sorry.
episode.
Um, so while they're searching for her father, Ed and Scar, they're talking about Roy, and Scar is like, yeah, if he goes down this path, it'll be hard for him to he won't be able to come back from it. So you can tell Ed is very concerned about him. Um, and then we go to Roy, and he is just absolutely destroying Envy. This scene, it was like both horrible, but also so cool at the same time. He like Envy just like can't escape because he explains it, I think, better in the manga, but Roy is both, he's doing like huge explosions and at the same time, um, doing like pinpoint aiming. And so he just like can't escape. And at one point, Envy tries to turn into Hughes, and Roy does not even hesitate. He just like burns him immediately. Um,
I don't know if I would have. Well, that's the point. I wouldn't have the presence of mind to like be like, that's not really Hughes, that's not really my friend. But
mhm,
that he, but Roy isn't in a good state of mind, so that's why he just like has this rage culminating
mhm.
in these attacks that just won't stop no matter what Envy does.
Yeah, I also think like he'd already seen Envy transform, so he did know he was
He
capable
was
of
prepared.
that.
He like
Like
after
he
seeing him
was,
transform into Hugh's wife, he's like he could do anybody or anything. I am going to murder him.
yeah. And then Riza is hearing all the screaming and everything, and she decides to go into the tunnels. And Envy sees her. And we see him be like, oh, like get this evil look on his face. And then Riza sees Roy walking down the tunnels, and they confront each other, and he's like, okay, stick close to me. And while they're walking side by side, or Riza stops and she points her gun at him. And then the episode ends.
Yeah, so when we first watched this, who did you think was Envy? Riza or Roy?
I don't remember.
So I feel like my gut reaction was like, oh, Envy totally transformed into Riza, duh. But like, it could be either one of them.
I think that was my initial reaction, because it's like, oh, that would make sense because he knows that she's there. But yeah, I mean, once you know who it is, you can like pick up on the small things, like, oh yeah, you know who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a question that'll be answered next episode, because they just love cliffhangers.
Yes.
But we don't have, I guess, too much to talk about afterwards. We did have voice actor notes, just because we're not going to have many, if any, voice actor notes going forward, just because we're nearing the end. We're not really meeting any new characters. But when we got to the end of this episode and the credits started rolling, we noticed two names that stood out to us for the English cast, and that would be Austin Tyndall and Josh Greeley, who now goes by Jesse James Greeley. And Austin plays Marco from Attack on Titan, and Jesse James plays Armin from Attack on Titan. Two of the best boys.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And tracking-wise, Ed still has his spear, and this is probably the longest he's kept any weapon on his person. And then homunculi deaths. It was very hard to count, because Envy had multiple deaths. We're going to go with at least 5, since a lot of the flame alchemy happened off-screen, and you just heard shrieks and screams coming from the tunnels.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And animation expertise. Artfully done scenes of Roy and Envy, exaggerated poses, deepened shadows to emphasize their movements and emotions, and Roy's whole face was animated differently from the moment he was in rage mode on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his pupils were
cool.
just tiny.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I meant to mention this earlier, but actually not just when this happened, but just like whenever Envy was getting burned, but also like when all of the immortal soldiers were like burned to death, I was just thinking like, that had to have smelled so terrible, because they are like made from, like, have the same composition as a human, so they're just like, yeah, that had to have been very gross.
Even worse, because their flesh, when they were getting punctured, I saw it was like green.
Yeah.
So they're already half rotted, basically.
Yeah. Pretty gross.
Yeah. And all I had for story elements analysis was revenge. Insert Megamind quote here.
Revenge is best served cold.
But it can be reheated in the microwave of evil.
Seriously, if you haven't seen that movie, you should, because there's so many great one-liners. It's so quotable.
Meg enlightened me in college, and then I showed it to my family back home, and we just quote that movie constantly. Especially since my parents work at school, because they'll just say, I'm off to shul now.
My old shul house.
My old shul house.
All right. What was your favorite line of the episode?
Well, can't do it because it'll peak on the audio, but mine wasn't a line. It was Envy's whistle. It made me chuckle for some reason.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's
a very human moment.
Right? But like you both like, you hate him, but at the same time you're like, just find him. He's just fun to watch.
Yeah. Like, I don't agree with any of his actions, but I think the story is better for having him as an antagonist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah. What was your favorite line?
Mine came from Roy, and it just like so dramatic. I loved it. He said it to Envy, and he said, "Everything you've said is fuel on your funeral pyre." Which, by the way, I was sad it was not in the manga. I was like, oh.
No, he said something else kind of savage, but not quite to that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did we learn?
We learned don't get in Roy's way when he's mad. But the real moral is sometimes you have to question a person's motivations. Like, sure, Roy was trying to avenge his best friend, which is justifiable, but at the same time, any time a person is fueled by hatred and rage, it leads to bad things.
And then who pushed the story forward?
Roy, for finally finding Hughes' killer, and for killing off the horde of zombies.
Yes. And then we will put this poll on our Instagram, and we're going to talk about it more in the next episode, I think. Just should Roy take revenge on Envy for killing Hughes? Yeah, we want to know your opinions, and we definitely have some, so we will be sharing them in the next episode.
Yes. But thanks for listening. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Full Metal Beyond the Gate, or email us if you have any questions or comments. And I guess we'll just be back next week with another episode.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Bye.